guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male, and a big happy Halloween to all you guys out there. So for today, I'm going to read a very entertaining email I was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, I believe he's in his 30s. He is very, very happily divorced, and he shares his story about how he definitely gets the last laugh, not only on his absolute piece of garbage ex-wife, who did him wrong in the worst possible ways you're going to see, but also the guy that she cheated on with. Oh ho ho. How this guy here comes from a family of lawyers. His dad is an attorney who started his own law firm, made it into something big with a lot of money. Mom's a lawyer, his brother and sister are lawyers, and he had the ultimate team to handle things when things went bad. And this gal knew they were all lawyers, but was so arrogant that thought she could get away with it. But ho ho ho. And that'd be a great one to go over here, guys, making many points here that, of course, you need to really do your homework on who you get involved with and marry, of course. And you can never let them think that they have the advantage in the relationship. How it's so important to have an absolute ironclad prenup and surround yourself with the right people, the defense team to help you preparing for such things and be on your side when all hell breaks loose. And this really is a good story, and our guy here has a great sense of humor. Now, a story like this is always long, and he goes into a lot of details. So this is going to be split up into two parts. So we'll be doing part one here, and after I first publish this, I'll do this in 2 hours, so you get to see all this stuff on Halloween night. So it starts off, says here, hello, Mr. SSM. I'm currently on a beach in Thailand. Meanwhile, my cheating, lying, deceitful, WHORE of an ex-wife is now a depressed, miserable wretch of a woman. And my life couldn't be better. A beach attendant is currently offering me a bottle of Samsung and Blue Haze cocktails, blah, 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 and I'm having a great time. I'm trying to finish up my story for you, and then I'm going to go jet skiing for the rest of the day. Okay, don't rub it in, dude. He's in Thailand now having a blast. But after what he's been through, he's entitled to enjoy the bachelor life. My brother sent me to your channel. I've been binge watching your stories and been laughing my tail off listening to the karma revenge stories. I'm a true believer in karma right now and love these types of stories. If I may, I'd like to tell you and your subscribers my own story. It's a doozy, a true story, disgusting betrayal, and karma. My story has to begin with my father. He was drafted into the Army and went to Vietnam. Did multiple tours and returned to the USA and entered law school. He married his high school sweetheart after returning to the USA. He was working 2 jobs, going to law school full-time, and his first wife was a stay-at-home wife. My father came home early one day because he was sick and not feeling quite well. He found his neighbor and his then lovely wife in bed together. Well, you know what, man? If that didn't happen, you wouldn't have been born. Because obviously this is not this dude's mother. This is the first wife of his father. Well, they divorced, but she got the house, the car, and alimony. They had no kids, thank God. My father struggled and was poor for a while. He moved back in with my grandparents and used my grandpa's old pickup truck to get around. My father continued to work and finish up law school. Well, my father told me he was living off $5 a week back then, and my grandparents didn't help him really. He would have been on if my grandparents didn't help him, he would have been on the streets. Upon finishing law school, he was a public defender for a few years, then started his own law firm. Awesome. I got a buddy in Massachusetts, did the same exact thing. Public defender, did well, saved up money, started his own practice, his own law firm. He's doing well. During that time, he met my mother, who was also an attorney. My mother was a hot, aggressive young U.S. Navy lawyer, and then left the U.S. Navy and went into private practice. Think of Demi Moore in the movie A Few Good Men. Well, I hope she had longer hair than Demi Moore back in those days. I don't know if Demi Moore had long hair in A Few Good Men, but probably was short. My mom was young, good-looking, and successful, and she knew it. My dad and her dated, and a few years later they married, and my mom joined my father's law firm. Over the years, my father's law firm grew into a multi-state operation, and he became very successful. My father and mother had 3 kids, my sister, my older brother, and me. Growing up, my father had rules and guidelines for us kids. Although us kids grew up well off, my father insisted we live modestly. Good for him. He didn't want to raise spoiled little a-holes. And your father knew what it was like to not have money. Because you never know, it could all disappear. Other than having a great house and all the toys, us kids did all the chores. My sister did all the laundry and dishes, and I helped out with the house cleaning. My brother and I did all the landscaping, washing the cars, etc., and cleaned the pool. Well, good. The kids should do the fucking chores. Mom and dad are working their butts off to provide a roof over their heads, nice living, food, and all that. All kids should do chores. Parents, if you're listening. My father taught my brother and I to fix our own cars, household appliances, and to do any needed home repair. He used anything as an opportunity to teach us self-reliance and humility. My father gave us a weekly allowance, but always taught us hard work and valuable lessons when it came to money, as well as family relationships. He taught us to never forget that success in life only comes through hard work and doing our due diligence in business and relationships. Well, success doesn't just come from hard work and those things. You have to work smart, guys. There are plenty of people in this world that work hard. I'm sure probably a lot of you guys work hard and feel like you're not paid what you should be paid. You gotta work smart and make the right choices, be in the right places. You need to make sacrifices. That's key. As well as take, I can't think of the term. I'll come back to it later. Essentially, cautious risk-taking. This was pounded into us kids from a young age. My brother and I loved to fish, and my father and grandfather took this as an opportunity to sit in the boat all day, lecturing us on how to be real men. They would say a lot of things that you state in your videos. My dad and grandpa would say things like the following. Now listen to this, guys. I wish all young guys had a grandpa and father that would tell young guys these things. Now listen to this. They would tell us you can love your woman, protect your woman, but be prepared to walk away if she breaches your trust. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. Never follow a woman that claims to love you. If you lead, she will follow you. Watch how a woman treats you in public and around her friends and family. Yes, she treats you like shit in public, guys. No respect, you walk. If a woman is really into you, she'll make it obvious to everyone to see. Yes, guys. If a woman really likes you, really likes you, it's obvious. When a man loves a woman, he will put aside his happiness for her and the family. But some women will put aside her family and husband for her happiness. That's why you take years to get to know your girlfriend before you marry her. Exactly. But remember, guys, it's not always a guarantee, because they can put on a freaking act for years. But the odds are, the longer you're with her, real life situations will hit you, and you can see how she responds to those things. Or she can't keep the mask on forever, but some can. They would say, never marry a girl that will sleep with you on the first date. You're damn right about that. Get to know a girl's family, especially her mother, before you propose. Yep. Watch how your girl treats money. If your money is her money and her money is her money, dump her. Yes. And some guys don't understand that. If your woman is not into lovemaking or uses sex as a weapon in the relationships, dump her. Well, I prefer fucking to lovemaking, but yeah, okay. Never put up with a woman that brings you stress and chaos. Hello, McFly. There's going to be, no matter what, a girl's going to bring you some little stress. I don't care how cool she is, but there's degrees of this shit. If she doesn't bring you support and love, that shit stops at the front door. The home should be your refuge from the grind and stresses of life, and should never be an additional stressor. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Your home is your place. Your escape from all that shit. But I don't care how cool the wife is or girlfriend. There are times she's going to drive you fucking crazy. But there's degrees to this shit. She can drive you crazy just doing woman shit. But without showing you disrespect. I know most of you understand what I'm coming from here. They tell me, never put up with a woman that brings you... I read that part. My brother and I loved these talks while we were fishing. We would ask a lot of questions, ask my dad and grandpa, and they loved to give real life examples and words of wisdom. We would laugh and joke around. It was always a great time. That's sweet, man. That's really good. Well, it was during one of these fishing days, Grandpa told us a story of how my father dumped our mom on their real first date. You're going to love this, guys. And by the way, guys, this story is 2 parts. This is how he grew up, about his dad and all that. And then we're going to get into the real story about his ex and all that. So just, for those of you like a long story, you get this. The story went like this. My mom and dad had been meeting for coffee dates to get to know each other during the course of their work week. It was after a few of these coffee type of dates my father asked her to dinner. She declined, stating that she'd be up late preparing legal documents, and suggested they meet on Sunday for brunch and then take a walk in the park. Brunch. fuck that. I hate brunch. I hate the whole concept of brunch. You got lunch, you got breakfast. You can't mix the two. I don't want to be sitting there and enjoying my goddamn omelet and bacon when some asshole sitting across from me having prime rib. No. Breakfast is a sacred thing. You can't fuck that up. Anyhow, I always go on a rant about brunch. You'll never see me go to brunch, ever. You can fucking pay me, I won't go to goddamn brunch. Well, my dad recommended his country club brunch, as they had proper omelets and breakfast for him, and she could get the prime rib, shrimp, and champagne for her. I would have been, nope, not happening. My dad picked her up at the apartment, or her apartment, and drove to the country club. My dad requested they be seated on the outside patio, as there was no one out there and it was a nice day. As they were waiting for the table to be prepared, my father noticed a gentleman sitting in the bar area, giving my mother a wink and a smile. My mother smiled back at the guy. My dad said it was obvious she was attracted to the guy. So this is their, official first date. After a couple coffee conversations of actual, meal together, and this fucker's flirting with her and she's flirting back? Oh, hell no. Well, as they were being seated outside the patio, my dad said he sat down with his back to the guy in the bar. He did this so he could see my mother's eyes and if she would continue looking at the guy. That's smart from your dad's perspective, and you're going to see why in a second here. After my mother looked over at the guy for the third time, my father turned around to look at the guy, then turned to my mother and said, "Oh, hold on a second. I'll introduce you." My father then went over and spoke to the guy. He told him she was a business associate he knew, and it was obvious they were attracted to each other. The guy said his name was Bob and was introduced himself. My father then offered to introduce her to him. Bob smiled and said that would be great. So my dad walked over and then said to my mother, "Come on over and let me introduce you to Bob." She's probably like, "What?" My mother got up and followed my dad over to Bob, thinking my dad knew Bob. Well, my dad pulled out a chair for my mom, and she sat down with Bob. My dad introduced them and said, "Let me find the waitress." He walked away, got in his car, and drove home. Your dad is freaking awesome. Well, I would have been done there and never would have talked or asked again. Well, listen to this. We asked our dad if the story was true, and he said, "Yep." Then Grandpa told us, "Boys, that's how you put a woman in her place." It took your mother begging your dad for 3 months before he took her on another date. Well, I'm glad he made her work for it, but I wouldn't have taken her after that. Between the brunch and the disrespect in the restaurant, I wouldn't have taken her back, or given her a second chance on a date. But if he didn't, then you wouldn't have been born, so we wouldn't have this story. And I'm glad you're here, so we'll let that go. But I wouldn't tolerate that. Anyway, my brother and I, we laughed our tails off, and my brother asked what happened after that, Dad. My dad says, "Your mother was a burning comet that fizzled and never disrespected me in public again." I'm sure she didn't, because he taught her a lesson. You can't allow disrespect, guys. You got to prepare to walk away. Well, when we got home, I told my mom that Grandpa told us about the story of Dad putting you in your place after you were flirting with a guy on your first date. My mom looked shocked and then started laughing and said, "I guess he did, but I wasn't flirting, and your father left me stranded with that pervert." Uh-huh. Nice change of story, Mom. Women and accountability. She was there smiling at the guy, winking at the guy, whatever, enjoying the attention. See? As I stayed at SSM, my father had rules for his kids. Since my father had become wealthy, he had some requirements to be included in trust/inheritance. The rules for us were simple, but there was no negotiation on these rules. He required my brother and I to serve honorably in the military and graduate college. Before we married or had children, we had to do that. We also had to have prenup agreements when we were married. Hey, there you go. The trust was worth millions, and that was non-negotiable. My sister had the same deal, but she didn't have to serve in the military. Hello, what about equality, huh? He said we needed time to mature and grow up before making any serious life decisions. Good, I wholeheartedly agree. My older brother and I both went into the Marines and served 4 years honorably. My father wanted my brother and I to study law and join his law firm after graduation, but that was not a requirement of the trust. I don't like that rule, because what if you didn't want to be an attorney? What if you wanted to be a doctor or do something else? My brother and sister obtained their law degrees and joined my father's law firm. My sister married another lawyer and now has many kids. My older brother is also married with kids himself. I started out as a law major, but I hated it. I ended up studying network engineering, cybersecurity, and a bit of software type of engineering. Sweet, dude. I'm glad you did what you wanted to do. I should also be married with kids now, but that's why I'm writing you this story. It's sorry for all the background, but it's important to the story. My father molded us to be strong, successful men. Interesting that your channel is Strong, Successful Male. The simple title of your YouTube channel immediately caught my eye, and now on to the good stuff. Okay. Had to have some good background here about his dad and how he was raised for the story. In my first year of college, I met we will call Jessica. What a perfect name for this story. She was 2 years ahead of me in college. Jessica was beautiful in every way. We started dating and became inseparable. We spent all our time together. Smack! What do you mean you spent all your time together? You're in college. I get you got a girl that you dig, but all the time together, that communicates that you're really into her. And when a woman thinks a guy is totally into her and it's a sure thing, that's when bullshit starts. Clearly you skipped that day on the fishing trip with Grandpa and your dad when they taught you that stuff. You should have been spending, you can see her maybe once or twice a week. The rest of the time studying with your bros at the gym, doing fun shit, not making your whole life about her when you're 19, 20 years old. And that's going to come back to haunt this guy. I had to point that out. My mother packed me lunch every day while I was in college, and one day I told her to not pack me lunch anymore as my girlfriend Jessica would bring me lunch every day. My mother said Jessica needs to come for dinner so we could all talk. Oh boy. Enter Mama Bear. During dinner, my mother flat out asked if we were having SCX. I'd be like, whoa, Mom, come on here. Boundaries. Jessica was silent, and I said yes. My mother asked if we were using protection, and Jessica said, of course. That night, my parents reminded us of the rules of the trust, and there was no negotiation, and I agreed. After that, Jessica and I talked about our future and plans to eventually marry and have a family. Smack! How old were you? Please tell me this wasn't going on your freshman or sophomore year. This is way too early to talk about this crap. You can do it later on. Well, Jessica studied nursing and became a registered nurse upon graduation, and then later a nurse practitioner. Well, we're about to see more like a dick practitioner. Nursing, huh? Let's see how this goes. After graduation, I worked for a major company for 1 year. Then I started my own IT service company. It's a veteran-owned small business, and my brother was 51% owner of the company. Not only did he contribute to the startup capital, his part ownership was by design. With a family of lawyers, everything we did protected the money, the assets, the future wealth, and the investments. This was pounded into us as kids from our father. No one would be able to take away what we worked for. Not a wayward cheating spouse, or a divorce, or a lawsuit. All business, assets, wealth, etc. was structured accordingly. Personally, we owned nothing. Everything was either in a trust or an LLC. There you go. There you go. This is where knowledge is power. Other than the prenuptial agreement Jessica knew she would have to sign to marry into my family, she knew nothing of how our family's wealth or how our businesses were structured. Good, I'm glad you kept it that way, and that saved your butt. So after 7 years together, I proposed to Jessica. She was so happy. She grabbed me, kissed me, and said she was the happiest woman in the world. Well, she knows she's marrying into money, except she doesn't realize you guys are so damn clever that she can't touch it. I was very happy as well. Jessica was drop dead gorgeous, and I was so in love with her. My family loved her, and I couldn't wait to have kids with her. I wanted to be the best dad I could be, the way my father was a great dad to me. My parents had a talk with both of us. They instructed Jessica to retain a lawyer, have a prenup drafted up according to her terms, and have it sent over to my father's law firm. There would be discussions until we agreed on the final draft and signed. Good. Smart move. You got your prenup, she's got hers, well in advance before you say I do. All that, can't claim duress, can't claim it was thrown on you last minute. She had her terms, you come to an agreement. That's the way it's done. Good. But still, she had to realize what the family she's marrying into. I mean, there was no confusion. Your family and money, all lawyers. You don't think you would fuck with a family like this. Well, Jessica's acting like a Jessica, as you'll see. Well, Jessica's lawyer initiated the prenup. Not only that, my father had each meeting with the lawyers recorded, transcribed, and the transcripts notarized. This is not a standard practice, by the way, but my father made sure Jessica understood the prenup that she initiated. All of her questions and subsequent answers to and from counsel were transcribed and notarized and included as attachment in the prenup. She had over 100 questions and answers documented for the record. 100 questions? Jesus. I know women talk a lot, but good God. Our prenup was a thick-ass binder. The fact that her lawyer initiated the prenup and the discussions were notarized proved to be golden when we got divorced. We had a small, modest wedding with close friends and family, and then took a Caribbean cruise for a honeymoon that our parents paid for. 2 years into the marriage, my parents entered retirement and moved into a condo close to my bro and sister's kids. They said we could move into the house rent-free, and so we did. Man, that's a sweet deal. Jessica and I had this awesome house with a good pool all to ourselves. My business was starting to take off. I'd become CCIE engineer, and my company was a Cisco services partner and reseller. However, I was only paying myself about $20,000 a year. I put everything back into the company to grow it. Good, very good, my man. That's what you do. I hired the best IT professionals I could find and paid them top dollar with incentives. I put 110% into my business and was proud of how it was growing. My brother had structured things accordingly. My car, leased by the company, my phones in the company name, monthly entertainment expenses, barbecues, meetings, car insurance, gas, maintenance, business clothes and dinners, all paid by the company. Vacations/business trips, again paid by the company. There you go. All you business owners are all laughing, knowing darn well that's how it works. And, well, this makes the point, guys, that if you have a good skill, a good trade, eventually if you can start your own businesses, you too will be able to enjoy the perks of such things, but just do it in accordance to the guidance of your accountant and tax preparer. I don't want you getting dragged off to prison for doing stupid shit, but anyhow, this is how it works. The $20,000 I was paying myself went mostly back into investments. I looked successful, and I was, but I had very little personal money. Jessica and I were living for free at my parents' house. At this time, Jessica had become a nurse practitioner and was doing great. On paper, she made 7 to 8 times what I made. That's right, on paper, she was the breadwinner, and I was on her medical insurance to save my company the expense. She had the best medical insurance, by the way, so it worked out well. Life was good, or so I thought. So did you notice that, guys? He's deliberately declaring a salary of $20,000 a year, and the rest of it is retained earnings going back into growing the business. Meanwhile, she's making 7 to 8 times a year, so 150, 160, something like that. So who's the moneymaker in this relationship? Technically, her, even though he has his own business and comes with lots of money. So if they were to get divorced, guess who's paying him? Who doesn't need the money? Fucking genius, but she's the stupid one, as you're going to see. Well, then one day, Jessica came home and was so excited. So she told me that she was pregnant. It was perfect timing. We laughed and kissed and started to make plans for the kids. I wanted a big family, and so did she. We told everybody the good news, and my family celebrated. I thought life was perfect. But within weeks, Jessica seemed off. She started to complain about her pregnancy and completely cut me off in the bedroom. We went from 4 to 7 times a week to 0. She said she didn't want to do anything that may harm the baby. I played it off since her hormones were in overdrive, but something wasn't right. And that, gentlemen, is where I'm going to cut off because this is getting long. But we're going to get into part 2 in 2 hours, and you're going to see how this whole thing plays out because, sadly, a lot of trouble in paradise. But this chick has no idea what she's up against when she decides to cross the ultimate line and do this guy wrong in the worst way. Holy crap. Do we have a comeback here and a happy ending? I will see you in 2 hours.